Who's calling me? I don't think that's anyone important enough to interrupt the old snow machine. -25°C. I think it did pretty good. This little thing up here, it's basically an eye bolt and some leftover steel. What it allows me to do, that slides over like this and it prevents it from going all the way left or right. I run a pin through that, and then this allows me to hook onto my existing hitch which came with the machine, like so. I know I could just replace that with something different, but I'm gonna give this a go for now. Time I've hooked this to the machine, so we'll give her a go. Alright guys, just as we're about to get going here, let me introduce you to what you're seeing here. This is a 2006 Ski-Doo Scandic super wide track, 24-inch wide track. This machine here I got last spring. I've been working on getting it back together and pretty much just brought back from near death because this thing here was starting to rust completely out. It's got a steel tunnel on it. This right here is steel, the whole backbone essentially. And when that thing rots out, well, that's the end of it. So I brought it back, I scraped all the rust off, treated it, primed it, etc., etc. Got it back to what you see. Also went ahead, as I explained in one of my more recent videos, went ahead and did a bunch of work underneath the sled. Took care of all the bearings, checked all the wheels over, things of that nature. Just cleaned it up more or less and brought it to what you see. So this thing's just warming up. And once it gets warmed up, we'll be out here to groom the trails today. That's what the main purpose of today is. On the back, I've got this old groomer. It's made out of angle iron, relatively light. I'd probably say it weighs about 40 or 50 pounds. In terms of length here, I can't quite remember, but if my memory does serve me right, it's about 10 feet. And it's just about the width of the snow machine. So it provides a nice track for just walking the dog, or maybe you're just trying to walk the trails or get around. Once I get that track set, then when I go over it again with my other snow machines, including this one, we're not sinking in as much because the track will firm right up. Let's just have a quick look at this. All right, and I did not make this groomer here. I actually bought it. I don't know how much I paid for it. It was really cheap, hence why I bought it. But it's relatively simple. You guys can see at the very end, we have this last little piece of steel, provides the finish on it. All these other pieces, they just cut the snow. And you can see up here, we have the angled pieces along the outside. We have tubular steel. This thing's definitely hit some things, not by me, but by other people before. When I got it, I went ahead and tried to fix up some of these. You can see the bow right there. They probably hit something pretty good. We have a look at the front. We have a makeshift spring system. Basically, it allows you to have a bit of give on the groomer as you're pulling it. This right here, I just mentioned a moment ago, that's a little bracket I made, sort of an in-between between the machine and the actual groomer itself. So that works pretty good. I've used this for many years, this groomer on my other machines. This will be a first time out with my super wide track Scandic. This will probably tow really, really easy. I could probably make this 8 or 9 or 1,000 pounds heavier and it would still tow nice and easy with that machine there. Anyways, let's get her up into the snow. You guys can see how it works. This is a great thing to have if you've got bush like I do and you want to walk down it or just get through the deep snow and get her packed in. Let's go give her a go, see how we make out. Welcome back. guys, figured it's a good spot to take a break. I'm right out here at the sawmill. I'll just tell you guys a little bit more about my setup, the machine here. If you're not familiar with these old machines, even the newer models of this, what makes them really, really special and really valuable to me is that this thing has a transmission. It doesn't have a chain case. A chain case would be what most snowmobiles have. Basically, you hit the throttle and the engine power is transferred over to your clutches, and then bada boom, bada bing, you end up going down the trail. This thing has a transmission, and I'll just show you it here. It doesn't have a chain case. And so if you were checking out the first video I made on this not all that long ago, I talked briefly about it. But this right here is the transmission. And so this lever you see me working, that's controlling low gear, high gear, neutral, and reverse. Low is very, very important for a machine like this. This is not a high performance machine. Doesn't go that fast, doesn't turn very good, definitely tippy, but it pulls and pulls and pulls. Having that low gear is what allows that to happen. This is a very light load back here, and I'm talking like the machine doesn't even know it's there. If you put a big load of wood on here, which I will be doing this winter, the low gear is what you need. Otherwise, you're really working your machine if you don't have a transmission like these Scandic models. And so that's where their value comes in. So keeping her in low, you can crank her up to high when you don't have anything on the back. And truthfully, it's so light, I could probably have it in high gear right now anyways. But I tend to keep it in low anytime I'm driving slow and anytime I'm pulling anything at all. Other than that, 550 fan engine. This thing is a 2-stroke. You'll notice when it's cold, it smokes especially bad. This thing has oil injection. And so you put straight gas into the gas tank. Over here, you have your oil reservoir. You put your 2-stroke oil in there. That injects it into the engine, mixes with the fuel, and away you go. 2-stroke, yeah, it's okay. A little bit smoky. I would prefer to have a 4-stroke, but this was the model that was available. Anyways, just back here with my groomer, you guys would have seen me going over for the very first time this ground here. This is the very first pass for the year. What I tend to like to do is I tend to go out in the evening. Obviously, it's the middle of the day right now, but usually I'd like to go out in the evening when we know a really cold spell's coming. That way I get out here, I set the track, it freezes overnight, and then it's rock solid by morning. That didn't work out this time around. It'll still freeze up a little bit because it's, you know, about -25 right now Celsius, so it'll freeze up regardless. Pulls a little bit of snow, more or less just cuts the top a little bit. The back edge here is what does all the finishing touches, but you can see it cuts a little bit of snow right with the first piece of angle iron. These diagonal pieces cut even more, and as you can see, it progresses to the very back. By the time it gets to the back, most of the high spots are taken out. All the low spots have been filled in with some of the snow that's being dragged, and you're left with a pretty decent product, as you guys can see. Now, I don't always groom through here. Oftentimes, if we get a huge snow in the winter, I'll just come through here with the tractor and the snowblower. For right now, though, I'm just going to groom it so I can get out here and walk my dog, things of that nature. But besides that, you may see me coming down this chute here with the snowblower so that I can get logs in and out all winter long. The tractor, although many of you will say you just drive your tractor in the winter, well, I do too, but when the snow gets as deep as it can get here in central Ontario, Canada, you can't really drive off a trail. Otherwise, the bottom drops out and you're just sitting there, sitting on the frame because the snow, without a word of a lie, the snow will get up to here. If you can imagine, if there's no solid base for the tires to grab onto, you're in a world of hurt. And that's the biggest machine I got. And that tractor is going to be stuck till spring. Anyways, let's get back to it. A bit more trail to do. It's certainly cold, but luckily for me, feel that? Heated grips, heated thumb. Beautiful thing. All right, back to it. Sometimes I sit on it sideways. This thing's like straddling a sofa. If you're wondering, thing doesn't turn at all, as you guys can see. Oh well, we'll make her. Kind of a nice spot here on a rocky outcropping. If you guys can guess what I'm about to grab out of this bag, it means you've been around the channel for a while. A little bit of sludge. Beautiful spot for a sludge up here. It is very brisk out today, but got to tell you, there's not a lot of other places I'd rather be. You know, I could be sitting inside watching TV on the couch, but there's probably not a more relaxing, sort of peaceful spot to be than out here in the woods, grooming trails or cutting wood or whatever you might be doing. Throwing a sludge there, you got the perfect mix. That's the good stuff. Anyways, just taking a break here. We're on a rock ridge, as I mentioned. You guys can have a little look around. I call it the rock ridge. As you can see here, the ridge goes up that way. Lots of nice granite boulders that stick out. The trail meanders up that way. And now that I've stopped here, you can sort of see some of the wildlife that's come by. Just have a look down there. Not sure what that probably would have been. Judging by the size of it, it's probably a coyote or something like that. But likes to take the same trails that I make here, sort of the deer when they get around. Although it is quite cold right now, so the deer are probably starting to yard up. Basically, they come together in the winter and helps them to avoid predators and work with other deer to get food and things of that nature. Anyways, as I said, it is a bit of a ridge. If you look out that way, you can see there's some hills that dip down. Eventually, it makes its way out to that big meadow you've seen. We've got some other trails down that way we would have come up, but one of my more favorite trails, we just came from that way. So beautiful time out here. Just gonna have a quick break. Not too long though, as I mentioned, it is crisp, and then we'll get back at it. And just looking at the machine, nice to see the machine's running good. I got to tell you, this is a big game changer for me. Coming off that 550 fan with the Grand Touring Ski-Doo, that thing with the 24-inch wide track makes a world of difference. I don't even have to really accelerate at all going uphill or anything of that nature. I can pretty much just touch the throttle. This thing crawls up the hills. On the old Grand Touring, shorter track, narrower track, I had to get a bit of momentum, especially when the snow got real deep, because if I didn't, what would happen is it would just dig a hole and I'd be stuck. I don't think this thing is sinking in hardly at all. If we look back here, you guys can see right there, like it's got so much flotation, I don't even know if it is sinking in the snow at all. And that groomer, as I mentioned, is doing a pretty good job back there, so all is good. Anyways, snow's pretty light this time of year, surprisingly. Normally I've been out a lot more than this, but this is my first go around. I can tell you some years I go out practically every other day. Otherwise the snow's so deep I can't even walk without snowshoes, but not the case now. So I guess that's good in some respects, but not good in others. It'll be easier on the wildlife with less snow. You get too much snow, especially the deer. They have a hard time getting away from some of the predators. They get trapped and, well, you can imagine what happens. So good for them, good for me. Back to it. Wait there, would you? Okay, all is good. As I said, can't make hairpin turns on this thing. saw some rabbit tracks here. I thought you guys might want to see it. Out here in the meadow now. You guys can see where the rabbit would have jumped here. 4 legs, jumped up there, and up there. We actually have snowshoe hare around here, and they definitely like to be out in this area. I see them periodically. Best time to see them is right around the start of winter, when we get a fresh snow and they're still brown. Good for me to see them, not for them to get away from predators. As you guys can imagine, if they're brown and the backdrop of snow is white, they're easy pickings. Also out in this meadow before, I've come out this way normally walking, and I see owls. They like to hang out on the periphery there in the trees. I'd imagine they're out there looking for those snowshoe hare and whatever else they can see that happens to pop out into the meadow, but probably not going to see one on the machine today. They're barred owls, by the way. Anyways, let's keep at her. Looks good. Full on lean to turn this thing. There we go. Alright guys, well, I just stepped off the machine for a minute. I'm in an area of the bush that's pretty dense. You guys haven't really been here before. I like to call this area the Coliseum. Reason I call it that, if you look around you, you have a lot of rock ridges here. Lots of granite rock there and here, and quite dense back there with some spruce. We just came down this way. Still towing the groomer back there. I'm going to continue the trail right down here. This was a relatively new trail I built not all that long ago. Comes down here, and then I got to make it up in a sharp corner here. I don't know how well that's going to work. And then we head down that way. So this is the Coliseum. As I said, I have buried my other snow machines in here countless times, and I am just plain sick of doing it. And so I know for certain that machine is going to end all that. With that in mind, I think I'm going to end off there. I got to keep moving because it is chilly. Don't want to say that any more than I have to. So with that in mind, I think we're going to call our quits right there. I appreciate you guys coming back every single week and watching all my videos. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, you know where they go down below. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, check out my original video where I introduced the Scandic. It also talks about my other machines, the old 380 fan touring and my 550 fan grand touring. And hopefully you guys enjoy that video as well. As always, take care, be well. See you next time.